Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful and, honestly, awe-inspiring moments in the entire Bible, the events of Exodus chapter 24. This isn't just another chapter. It's the official, solemn ceremony, which you might even call the wedding between God and the nation of Israel, at the foot of Mount Sinai.
But let's start with a question we can all wrap our heads around. How do you make a promise truly sacred? How do you take mere words and turn them into something unbreakable, something that lasts forever? Well, this ancient chapter gives us a pretty incredible blueprint for that.
So, picture this. The entire nation of Israel is gathered at the foot of this mountain, which is literally shaking with the glory of God. They've heard God's laws, and now it's decision time. This is where they formalize their relationship with Him.
And you've got to appreciate how carefully this is all done. This isn't some emotional, heat-of-the-moment thing. It's a very deliberate process. God speaks, Moses communicates, the people agree, and then Moses writes it all down. Every step is clear, formal, and intentional. No one could say they didn't know what they were getting into.
And just listen to their response. It wasn't just a few people shouting. The text says they answered with one voice. Can you imagine that? An entire nation, hundreds of thousands of people, speaking in perfect, unified agreement. This is their collective vow, a powerful, unanimous "we will."
But back then, for a promise this huge, words weren't quite enough. The most important agreements needed a physical sign, a tangible seal to make it real. And that brings us to the next part of this ceremony, which is incredibly significant. So first, Moses sets the stage. He builds an altar, which is there to represent God's side of this agreement. And then he sets up 12 pillars, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. So right there, you have both parties represented visually, God and the people.
Now, after setting all this up, Moses grabs the book he'd written everything in and reads it out loud to the people. And guess what? They agree all over again. But this time, they add a word, obedient. It's like they're doubling down, making it crystal clear that they understand and are fully committed.
And this is the heart of the ritual. Moses takes the blood from the animal sacrifices and throws half of it on the altar, on God's representative. Then he throws the other half on the people. It's the same blood touching both parties. This is the seal. It signifies that they are now bound together in one life by one sacred promise.
So, when you hear the word covenant in the Bible, this is the kind of thing we're talking about. It's not a business contract. It's a sacred bond, more like a marriage. In fact, that's exactly what many see this as, a national wedding ceremony where God and Israel are vowing to be faithful to each other.
Just when you think the day couldn't possibly get any more intense, it does. The agreement has been sealed with blood. Now it's going to be celebrated with a meal in the very presence of God Himself. A special group gets called to go up the mountain. It's not the whole nation, but their representatives: Moses, his brother Aaron, Aaron's 2 sons, and 70 of the elders of Israel. That's 74 men heading up the mountain to meet with God.
And then we get this absolutely mind-blowing sentence. And they saw the God of Israel. Just pause and let that sink in. Sinful, mortal men saw the holy God.
The Bible almost struggles to find the words to describe it, using phrases like, as it were, because our language just can't capture it. They see something beneath His feet, like a pavement made of brilliant blue sapphire.
And it was as clear and pure as the sky itself. It's this incredible picture of absolute holiness, of perfect, transcendent beauty. Just stunning.
And here's the miracle within the miracle. Normally, to be in God's presence would mean death for sinful people. But the scripture says God did not lay His hand on them. They weren't destroyed. Instead, they sat there and ate and drank. It was a meal of peace, a fellowship meal, confirming that they were accepted into this new covenant relationship.
So the covenant is sealed, the meal is done. But there's one last part to this chapter, and it's the most intimate moment of all, an encounter that's just for Moses.
God calls Moses to come up even higher, all the way into the cloud at the very top of the mountain. And why? So God can give him the permanent record of their agreement, the tablets of stone, written by God's own finger.
And Moses goes, but he doesn't just walk right in. He gets to the cloud and he waits for 6 full days. Then, on the 7th day, God finally calls his name, and Moses enters the cloud of glory.
Now you have to remember what this looked like to everybody else waiting down below. To them, the glory of God looked like a raging, devouring fire on the mountaintop. It was terrifying.
But for Moses, who was called to come near, that fire was a place of communion.
And how long was he up there? 40 days and 40 nights. That number, 40, comes up again and again in the Bible, doesn't it? It's almost always a time of testing, of preparation. For 40 days, Moses is completely cut off from the world, receiving instruction directly from God.
And that leaves us with this one last really important thought. The promise, the relationship, the we will, the seal of blood, all of it happened before the 10 Commandments were ever physically carved into stone. So what does that tell us about a relationship with God? It seems to say that the relationship comes first. It's built on a mutual promise, on a vow, not just on a list of rules. The law gets its meaning from the relationship, not the other way around. And that's something worth thinking about.